fat trade paperback flocking to the
I'm joined by the amazing Allison O'Toole, Dan Price, Andre Owen, Fred Kennedy, Chip Zdarsky. Chip, thanks for coming.
What's up, folks? I'm your host, Konrad, on Wednesday Night Reviews, and tonight, we are joined by David Lujan, and we're going to talk about their new comic, Big Game Saga. I may be experiencing technical difficulties. David, there we go, and I'm back. So, yes, we are joined today by David Lujan, and we're going to talk about their new book, Big Game Saga, number 1. So, David, thanks so much for taking the time to come back on the show.
Stoked to be here. Want to talk about this comic book. It's been a while in the making. So, yeah.
Glad to hear it. I mean, I'm not going to lie. For me, it kind of came out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, okay, he's on something new and interesting, and I'm excited. For the folks out there who've maybe never come across you, David, who is David Lujan?
I'm an illustrator, comic creator from Austin, Texas. I've been doing it for a couple of years now. I put out a couple of books about a couple of vampires and a couple of mermaids. There've been a couple of people have noticed me and asked me to draw some comic books for them, and this is one of them. Written by a guy named Bill Poor. And so this is me sort of jumping in head first, saying, hey, let's do this weird project that was out of left field for me too.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I'm excited to hear about those other projects as well as they come and as you're good and ready. But yes, I guess just to start with then, I'm going to bring up the campaign for Kickstarter here. Do bear with us, folks, if you can hear me. We seem to be having a little bit of technical difficulty today.
The robots are having their way with you. I feel like I should dance right now or something. Or maybe stream of consciousness rapping. That would be cool. Yeah, that would be real cool. Is he back? No, he's not back. Oh, he's gone. There he is.
Cool. Welcome back, folks. Oh, there he is. Okay, perfect. And we're back. My apologies, folks. We seem to be having a little bit of technical difficulties today. But yes, I did want to bring on the campaign page for Big Game Saga. And David, if you'd be so kind, tell us about this book. What is this?
Big Game Saga is the first issue of I'm not sure how many issues it's going to be, but the basic premise is you've got illegal time travel in the near future. And there's a company that's selling the experience, right, to battle any warrior from ages past. So you can pay tons of money on the black market, and they'll go back and they'll pluck whatever kind of, whether it's somebody from World War II, so you can fight your grandpa, or you can go back and pluck like a gladiator and fight somebody from the Roman Empire or something like that. It's like a rigged situation where you're guaranteed to end up with the head of that warrior on your wall by paying them tons of money. Well, they go back and they want to pick a samurai, and they're like, hey, let's just pick some farmer from feudal Japan, and that farmer happens to be a ninja in hiding. So it gets weird, and it's going to get even weirder. And I'm real excited about where this is going to go, because there's layers upon layers, and there's backstory that gets revealed, and there's some stuff that's alluded to in this issue that is going to come forth in issue 2 that Bill's told me about, and I'm excited to draw it. And so it was very challenging for me. Yeah.
Right on. Okay. Well, so you know what? I want to get into that then. So, David, I came to you through this show. You sent me a copy of your first book, Narita, Narita, which is beautiful and wonderful. And then you've gone out and you've made, I'm going to say it wrong. I want to say Kuriko, but I don't think it is.
Yuriko. Yuriko was the vampire one.
Yuriko. Yes, thank you. And the connecting bit there between those two, other than being having protagonists that are strong, interesting, if fallible women, is the fact that they're all fantasy. Now you're going more in a sci-fi shift. So, like you said, this was challenging for you. What about this did you find the most challenging, and what did you find to be easier than you thought it would?
Well, Bill, who wrote the story, had seen Yuriko and loved the black and white stuff that I was doing with that. So he was like, "Hey, I got this crazy idea. What if when they go back in time to feudal Japan to go get this guy, if it's black and white, and then when it comes back to the future, it's in full color." So it was like marrying those two things together. That was kind of difficult to wrap my brain around. It gave me a chance to like dive into this whole and it's in the preview in there. It gave me a chance to dive into the whole like manga, my love of manga comics, right? So I'm using dot screens and fades and stuff like that from, you know, My Hero Academia and Akira and all of that fun stuff for the black and white, you know, scenes that are set in feudal Japan. And then I'm coming back in and I'm trying to do like a more modern take where the even the pages are set up with like they're more modern with an anchor image and then floating boxes around it and all that kind of stuff. So even the way that I'm building the pages is completely different for the color stuff, like you can see here. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that's so cool because, and I'm very happy to be able to say that you did send me the finished book. So I've read the issue. I had a lot of fun with it, and I think just as a plain reader, right, as someone who just digs a lot of comics, being able to go through and when you went from this scene and then flipped back to 1824 here, and you, as I'm going to call it as a fan of Ghost of Tsushima, you put on Kurosawa mode, and you went all, you know, black and white and gray. Now that you said it, I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh yeah, because this is actually paneled older and more traditionally manga. And then when we flip back to the modern, yeah, it definitely, like you said, it has the anchor image. Oh, I never even realized that. Awesome. So,
well, I mean, the point is for it to be kind of seamless to where you just feel it, right? You know, you just feel like, oh, I'm in a modern time now, or oh, I'm in an old time now, right? So dealing with that, even the panel structure I really had to think a lot about it to make it function the way I wanted to, you know? So.
Interesting. Now, when you were going about doing the art for this, did you have to like do it at two separate times, or were you going like page by page and trying to like revert between the two styles?
No, man. I illustrated it in chunks, so I would do, you know, pencils for 6 pages, and then I would ink those 6 pages, and I would try and color those 6 pages, and I would do it in scenes, right? So the opening scene of the comic book is like almost like a film strip where they're watching. It's like a promotional video kind of thing. So I illustrated that so it would have all the same color tones and the same like washes and whatever. And then when it moved into the scene afterwards, I tried to do that whole scene because it's scene by scene, everything changes. And it was kind of the same thing with my last book, Narita, book 2, scene by scene, because you're talking about like different times of the day. You're talking about different environments. Like, are they in the forest? Are they in a castle? Are they, you know, so taking those things into account based on, especially based on how you're going to color it. But for this one, based on like not only how you're going to color it and what time of day, but what period in time am I? Like it's just this mind game. It's so crazy for me anyway. But I had a ton of fun doing it.
That's fantastic to hear. Like it's one of those things where I think unless you're in it doing it, especially because you're rendering the world as we see it, you take the little things for granted. Like I imagine the small props that someone has in their home, the way that a cup might be shaped, the way that their clothes would sit or be made, all of that is, I mean, it becomes very important when you're flipping between a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier, like your palettes were different. What kind of research did you have to do to be able to kind of get this to look as seamless as it is?
Well, luckily, the things are sort of localized. So originally, when Bill sent me the script, there's a scene in there, and you can see it in the little preview where these two samurais come up, and they're like kind of messing with Saga's family because he's just a farmer, and he can't get his crops to grow fast enough. And these two guys roll up, and they're like, this bag of rice looks light, and blah 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 blah. And they start kicking him around and being jerks. Um, Bill imagined them to be in like full samurai regalia. So on the script, it was like samurai armor with the sword and the hat and all the stuff. And I was like, well, at this point in time, they were, it was a kind of a peaceful time in Japan. Like there weren't wars happening, so there wouldn't be roving samurais dressed in full warrior regalia, right? They would be dressed in a different, like with robes, but they would look nicer. They would be more like nicer cloth, nicer material, and stuff like that. So I did research to see what they would look like and what people were wearing at the time, what the peasants were wearing, and then what like the rich samurai class was wearing. You know what I mean? So there was a little bit of that. But I've seen so many Kurosawa movies, man. Like, you want me to draw you a samurai? I got you, no problem. Yeah, it's all here for sure.
Well, I absolutely then I cannot pass up the opportunity to show this off. So in the campaign, again, which people can go Google Big Game Saga #1 Kickstarter, you'll find it. You've done a cool twist on the artist and writer intros, and we've got right here, we've got you rocking the beautiful helmet with the, I don't even know what it's called, to be honest, but I love it. And we've got Bill sort of rocking, looking up a little bit like, I want to say, a Roman soldier.
Yeah, he's a Greek, ancient Greek helmet. Yeah.
Thank you. So it's absolutely just a fun time. Now, we're almost at that time where I want to ask about the campaign itself, but I do have one more question for you. In Narita, the protagonist, she's I wouldn't say an aggressive individual. She's a mermaid. She basically sheds her scales to be able to walk on Earth, the surface, and deal with people and talk with people. Yuriko is very much an aggressive person. She's a vampire. She goes about hurting people. Those two, in the worlds that they live in, are magical, are fantastical. Oh, there he goes. So what I was curious about is, now that you're dealing with people, essentially just regular old people, what were some of the differences in drawing and pacing out combat compared to, a mermaid and the things that she gets attacked by, and a vampire, and then samurai? An early scene, you show basically these people hunting a Roman, so you have hunters. What was the difference like in combat for you?
Well, with the mercenary scenes and stuff, like the very first scene in the book, I was like, what does a guy look like who is hunting? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I can make up a soldier riding a horse who's carrying a crossbow. I can just make that up, and it's fine. No one's gonna fact check me because I just made it up. It's like a fantasy world. So this took a lot more like, okay, how would a guy dress if he was in the African safari, like out hunting? You know what I mean? What kind of rifle is he gonna have? What kind of, so, and this also took a little bit more, I had to come up with what the gun was going to look like, the guns that they were going to bring back, and all the tech that they were going to bring back to feudal Japan when they go hunting for this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's supposed to be like futuristic, but near future, not just like crazy out of your, this is supposed to happen in, I don't know, like 20, 30 years. They figured this out, and it's all black market. So you're not it's not so far in the future that it's like this dystopian whatever thing that's like you can just make it up. You have to do a little bit of research to be like, okay, that would make sense. That's why this looks like this. You know what I mean? It was way more research based for sure.
Interesting. Now, one thing I wanted to clear up, because I enjoy a good time travel story, and the classic thing of, man hunting man has been done so many times in so many ways, because it's just such a gripping, interesting thing. But as you mentioned, these people travel back in time, and then they enable you to fight a soldier of your choosing. Now, are they taking you back in time and letting you just go basically murder this person, or are they bringing them back to our time and then setting them free in a field somewhere?
That's it. So they'll go back in time, they'll snatch somebody, they'll bring them to the appointed place somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa. They'll drug them heavily. So because imagine, like, if you were to have to fight a Roman centurion right now, who's gonna win? Yeah, we're all done for. There's no way. I don't care how much CrossFit you do, you're done, right? So it's definitely one-sided, right? It's one of those things where the way Bill described it to me when he was explaining it, he was like, if it starts to lean in one direction, like they're kind of losing the guy who paid a lot of money. Well, there's dudes surrounding him with tranquilizer guns, so they're just gonna tranquilize whoever, the target, right? So that the dude who's fighting can kick his ass, right? So yeah, it's a horrible setup. It's just trophy hunting. But the problem happens when you come across someone like Saga, who's a ninja, who is, there's a mystique there, and I love the idea of, like, ninja powers, not necessarily ninja powers, but like he has the fortitude to be able to withstand a tranquilizer. He has the fortitude to withstand, like, being shot, being cut, he's got scars all over his body and stuff. You know what I mean? So, and he's a really nice guy. So, like, right from the get-go, from issue 1, you're rooting for him. You're like, oh no, but I like this dude. He's really cool. You know what I mean? He's like, he's good looking. He's got these kids. He's got a really nice wife. He's just trying to grow some rice, and you're gonna come pluck him out of it. Oh, it's horrible. But yeah, so that's how that works. So they bring him to the future, and you saw. Well, I won't tell. When they bring him back to the future, that final splash panel scene is just kind of like, oh yeah, this went horribly wrong. So
yes, I loved that. Like the way that, and again, I don't want to give away too much spoilers, but the way that you showcased everything that you foreshadowed and that Bill, the writer, foreshadowed everything was wonderful.
Thanks.
I did want to take a moment. I appreciate, David, just to clarify, you are on this book, you are the artist. Did you have any hand in writing it or giving suggestions?
I not writing the script. I did change some of the panel pacing when I was illustrating, because Bill had written a lot of, like, screenplays and scripts and stuff for TV, but he had never really written a comic for comic's sake. So when he sent me a script, he was like, if this works, it works. If it doesn't work, and a lot of times when I get a script from somebody who hasn't written for comics a lot, they have a tendency to try and cram a lot into one page. It'll be like, 8 panels, 9 panels per page. And in those panels, there's tons of stuff happening. Or it'll only be like 4 panels, but like tons of talking. So I tried to, as best I could, kind of, and he was very open to the idea, but suggest, like, hey, I'm going to change the paneling. The amount of panels. Sometimes it helps to add more panels and to break up the context of so you can be reading something, what they're saying, but you're sort of like gazing around the room, right? Like when they're in that, in the little preview that's on Kickstarter, when they're in that room, the trophy room or whatever, he's talking and he's saying stuff and they're having a conversation, but it's not just talking heads. It's like a close up of a trophy on the wall. It's a close up of, like this. Like they're talking to each other, but if you notice, there's only 2 shots. There's like 3 shots of these dudes. There's a shot of him pouring himself a glass of whiskey. There's a shot of a dead, mummified samurai who's just chilling over there. You know what I mean? So doing this and actually adding in micro panels can sometimes help break up what would be just a really wordy page. You know what I mean? So it gives you something to look at. It's as though you're in the room while they're talking to each other, and you're just looking around like, whoa. well, you know what I mean? That's kind of what I went for with that stuff. So that's what I was in charge of. I was also kind of in charge of character design. So he had me work up character sheets for all these characters and like, this is what this guy looks like. This is what this guy
Oh,
looks like. Yeah. So because he had very specific reference points of like different actors that he wanted people to look like, or that he was like, oh, this guy,
oh,
you know, Vic
cool.
Silvers should definitely be, you know. So, but yeah.
Right on. Well, I love it, and I enjoy David, this part because you've done this so much now, and you are so very talented. Oh,
Oh, you still there?
let's
I'm
see
still here.
here. There we go. Oh yes, very much so. So one of the things that I enjoy so much about this is you've done this now for, like you said, a couple years. You've put out a number of issues, and what people may not know about you, you're not just a comic book artist, but you are an otherwise visual artist. You're a musician. I've known you to do carpentry, or general contracting, I guess, almost. Like you kind of do it all, and you do it very well. And you tend to pick up skills and notice things. I find that some people don't know that they're knowing. You know, like you. I feel like you really get the details. So getting to see you go through and really flesh this stuff out is awesome. Now that being said, it is important to mention this book is done. I have the finished digital copy, so there's no concern about it not being finished. So for the people that are going to back this book, I guess let's start with the minimum buy-in to just get a digital copy, maybe a physical, and then if you want to talk about some of your bigger ones, go for it. And I'll bring the campaign back up here.
Yeah, so minimum it's like $5 and you get a digital copy of the comic. It's 22 pages? 20 more than 22 pages. I can't remember. We went over. It was supposed to be about 22 pages and we went over because we needed a little extra action and stuff. With a little bit of sketchbook stuff.
Love it.
Yeah. And if you just get a digital copy of it, I'll send you also all of the variant covers too. So that's cool. You get to check those out. If you want a physical copy, it's $10 US dollars. I don't know how
Very
much
cool.
it is for Canadians because you guys have a different monetary system. But
Yeah, $14. It's not bad.
yeah. What are you guys? What is it called? Well, ours are called dollars. What are yours, like doubloons? No, I'm ill-equipped. What's your currency?
uh, it's we still call it dollars, Canadian dollars.
Okay.
Oh, I've disappeared. It seems. But yeah, dollars. Dollars would be the one.
Okay. Right on. Well, yeah, $10 will get you $10 will get you the original cover A and a digital copy, obviously too. If you go up from there, you can get the variant covers. I've also thrown in some other tiers that have my other comic books. Yuriko is my vampire comic book about a Korean vampire who drinks blood and kills people and co-opts other people to become their familiars. There you go. You can just get that as a digital thing, or you can get physical copies of those comics as well. And then Narita is on there as well. It's a comic that I wrote and illustrated about a mermaid who gets trapped on land. Issue number 2 just dropped last month. Those are being printed right now, so there's plenty to go around. And then the very, very last tier, the Shinobi tier down there, there's no image for it, but on the main page there is. You can get a t-shirt, a Big Game Saga t-shirt. You will get a sketch, an 8x10 sketch by me. It's an original piece of artwork. And you will get all of the stuff, all the comic books and all the variant covers and all kinds of awesome things. So, yeah.
Yeah, let me get right to it because I think this one is the one to go with. I think it's awesome. And
there it is. Yeah.
Frankly, if someone's reading through this, seeing what we've been able to show them, ooh,
I can still see you.
There we go. A little bit of technical difficulties tonight. But yeah, I really do think it.
Spinning ball of death. I like it. Yeah, it's a good look. I prefer your face, Conrad, but it's cool. It's all good. Yeah.
If anyone is watching this and just checks out the art and goes, especially when it came to $100, awesome, but not to fear. Feed about the work, about the writer bill, $5 gets you in, and that's a-okay. Like I said, the book is done, so the good news is you will get it. It's just a matter of pledging now, backing it, and I was going to ask, what is sort of the timeline for getting it delivered once people back it?
I'm hoping to have it in people's hands by the end of next month. So once all the pledges come in and we kind of figure out how many we need to get printed, then boom, it's off to the printers. I've done it enough now to where I have my printer who does a great job, and yeah, I've already got all the swag kind of lined up. Like, there's cool stickers. If we fund, there's going to be a poster that goes out that I've already designed. That's pretty cool. And nice. That's kind of like, I guess, a stretch goal. I don't know, but I guess the idea basically is like, if it funds, which I hope it does, then we'll print up some cool 11x17 ninja posters for you. You also get some cool stickers in the thing, and I'm going to make some bookmarks and blah, blah, blah. Like some swag to throw in there, because everybody loves stickers and fun things, you know? So, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I dig it. I mean, you know what? It's one thing where I am continually happy, in my regular viewers will probably be tired of me saying this, but I'm continually very happy with how I guess the indie comics community treats their campaigns, because there's never a shortage of goodies, which I highly appreciate. So I guess, David, I was curious, like you said, you when you were speaking with Bill about the script and going through and deciding to change things and add things, you've gotten a fair bit of your own writing under your belt. You've contributed with other workers or other creators to make books. Do you currently have a preference, whether it's making just your own or making books with somebody else?
That's a very interesting question, sir.
Thank you.
I actually enjoy working with other people's scripts. I think that there's always like a point in which there's like this frustration point because it's not written by me, and the script is not the way that I would write it necessarily. There's always like this little point of frustration where I'm like, he just blah blah blah. Why doesn't even make sense? And then if I wrap my brain around the idea of like, it doesn't make sense because you're looking at it wrong. If you look at it from over here, now it makes sense. I see what he's trying to do. Let's do that instead, right? So once I wrap my head around that, like usually it's like the first 2-3 pages of a comic, and then I'm like, okay, I understand now. I can truck through this now. I understand what's going on. I'm working on another project with a guy named Dakota Brown. It's called Something Beyond the Petrichor. It's going to be hopefully on bookshelves through Red 5 Comics in the coming year, and they've got me enlisted for 4 issues of that, and it is completely different from anything that I've done and anything like Big Game Saga. Yeah, it's just the art style is completely different. The storytelling is completely different. It's kind of it's for a younger audience. It's YA. It's not all ages. It is dystopian and people are getting melted by acid rain, but you know, kids are into that stuff these days, so it's fine, you know. But yeah, like working off of somebody else's script can be, you can make it as stressful as you want to make it, or you can say, hey, I'm the artist, and this is my interpretation of what you sent me, and I think it looks great. And 9 times out of 10, people are like, that looks awesome. Looks better than I thought it was going to look. This is great. You changed all kinds of things that maybe didn't make sense to you, or vantage points or something like that, and we're rolling with it because it looks cool. Sometimes when I'm doing like corporate things and corporate illustrations, it can be a little more terse you send them something and they're like, well, swap this out and change that, and I don't like this person and blah blah blah. If you're doing like a kind of like an ad design work kind of thing, but that is
Yeah.
completely different. That is not a creative endeavor. That is not, in my opinion, that's not really artwork. So that is what that is. But, yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. I think it. Well, I'm glad to hear that they've brought you on for 4 issues. That's fantastic. And I didn't quite catch it. Did you, or I suppose when is it releasing? Is it a Kickstarter? Are they just putting it out?
They're just gonna put it out. We're not gonna kickstart that one. I am supposed to be just as soon as this campaign. I built this Kickstarter and stuff myself because Bill has no experience doing that. So now that I'm done with making all the images and getting the Kickstarter all ready to go and it's live, I can focus on something beyond the petrichor. I did 6 pages for him originally, and he shopped it around, and Red 5 was interested, so that's kind of how that came to fruition. And they were like, "Yeah, but we're going to need a 4-issue arc." So they want them to be completed before they kind of figure out when they're going to distribute them. Because they're with a distribution house, and when you start dealing with like publishers putting books on actual bookshelves, it gets different. You need to have that lead time. You got to have months in advance and then plan it out. Okay, the printing's going to happen here. It's going to get to the distribution, Simon Schuster, whoever. By this date, they're going to put it in their little previews catalog. They're going to sell it to the comic shops. Blah 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 blah. Things that I don't know anything about, basically. So yeah, that's how that's going to work.
Interesting. That's one. It's cool to get a peek behind the curtain. Interestingly, like I started working at a comic shop here in Toronto, and so I'm from the shop end of this. I'm getting a perspective, and now from the artist perspective, thanks to you, I'm getting a different perspective on why things are the way they are. And it's cool to see the whole picture and how it works.
Yeah,
fascinating.
Comic shops have always been a mystery to me, like as an indie creator, because I'll walk, like my band went on tour last summer, and every city we went to, I stopped in a comic shop and said, "Hey, would you buy some comics from me?" And 9 times out of 10, they were like, "No, we won't. Do you have Diamond Distribution or Lunar or whatever?" And I'm like, "No, I just have my comic right here. Just buy it." And they're like, "Yeah, we don't want to do that because A, it costs too much. Indie comics cost more than a Marvel comic on the shelf. B, a lot of comic shops are just the big 2 for the most part. Like they cater towards that a lot of times. They're like, dude, if you're not with so and so or such and such, then we don't do indie comics at all. There are a few shops that do, and those ones are really cool. And I did come across a couple of like comic shop owners who were like, "This is awesome. I just want to buy your comic because I like your comic, but I'm not going to buy it to put it on my shelves because I'd have to like black bag it and put it behind the counter because there's little kids that come in here." And I'm like, "Okay, that makes sense."
Yeah.
So you've read my other comics. There's way more, how should we say, adult content in those comics than with Big Game Saga. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? One, they're protecting themselves and their customers. Totally get it. So that's fair. And David, it crackled a little bit there. What was the company that you're doing this 4 issues with?
Red 5 Comics.
Red 5
I don't know
Comics.
I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They're based out of Houston. They're pretty small. They've optioned a couple. They're apparently filming a movie with Sam Jackson right now. Doing all kinds. They're the 2 guys who started it come from a film background, and they love comic books, and so they started doing that. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I mean, you know what? I'll give them a look. I'm finding, and maybe you can speak to this more than I can. But I am finding now there is a lot more indie comics companies. I guess I should say smaller comics companies coming out. I want to say monthly. Like, if I feel like every so often now I'm hearing a new name that's getting books out, putting things into previews, and going for it. Do you find that sort of the same as someone who's on the end of creating?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm in I finally enlisted my wife into helping me figure out how to get some of my comics that I've written and illustrated onto bookshelves. And she's like, let's just use our LLC, because she and I used to own an art gallery, and so we had an LLC. Our art gallery was called Gallery Black Lagoon. So we had like all this creature from the Black Lagoon imagery. We had all the branding package and everything. She's like, why don't we just start Black Lagoon Books? Duh. So I was like, oh, okay. What would that entail? She said, I'll figure it out, because you just draw your pretty pictures and we'll make this happen. Okay. But so I was just talking with another creator in town recently, and he was saying, it's almost not worth it to have another publisher publish your stuff for you when you can figure it out. If you can figure it out on your own and get it on shelves by yourself, you just start a little mini publishing house yourself and just publish your own. You know what I mean? You don't have to be part of Marvel or Image or any of that stuff. Not that no offense to any of those people. They're awesome. I mean, they've got it down streamlined and they're cranking out the comics, and that's great. But you don't have to send your portfolio to Jack Kirby and see if he's going to sign on the dotted line. Like, do you draw like John Buscema or not? If you don't, well, you're not hired. You don't get to draw Conan. And you're like, damn, all right. Nowadays, you can draw like whatever you want, and I've used that to the nth degree, because every comic I put out, I try and draw it completely differently based on what that comic needs. And that is super fun for me. If I had to jump on a book where I was illustrating Miles Morales or something, and I had to illustrate like the previous illustrator who just did it, and I didn't really like their artwork, it would be kind of a bummer for me. I mean, I would do it if Marvel, if you're listening, I'll do it. But I'm just saying, you know what I mean? It's more fun to be an indie creator and just make what you make. I don't know. So.
No, you know what? I totally get it. I think, like, for the end of a consumer, it absolutely makes for a more rich comics experience, because you get to enjoy different stuff. You get to see different things, and the types of stories you're exposed to, I find it on the indie side can be more, I guess, emotionally charged, but also like, because they can have things like characters who actually die and all the stuff that interrupting a canon, which can't happen at the bigger companies. You get to do all that stuff, so you definitely get to create and go for it. On the end of getting your books into stores, I am curious. So I learned recently that in order to get a book into previews, one, you have to have an ISBN, and then I think there's a fee to be listed in previews. So is Black Lagoon Books listing Big Game Saga 1 in previews? Is that like, can I pick up an issue and find you?
Well, that's the hope. What we're gonna do first is try and list Yuriko, and that'll be like, we're gonna throw her under the bus and see if it works. Previews is actually it's just a catalog for Diamond distribution. So there's Diamond, there's Lunar, there's Simon & Schuster, and they all have their own different preview catalogs. But Previews, the one that I've been picking up as a kid since I was a kid, because it was free and it had pictures in it. That one is through Diamond distribution. So we're starting small. I'm like, hey, will you guys carry this book? We want to put it out, every 2 months. It's going to be a 5-issue arc, blah, 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 blah. If that works, then hell yeah, we're going to try and put Big Game Saga in there and see if people like it. Same thing with Narita, if we can. Yeah, the cool thing about when I started looking into it is like Diamond, they're open to all sorts of stuff, because they get comics from all over the place. They distribute, Italian comic books that are about very adult situations, and you know what I mean. It's not just the big two, and it's not just comics for kids. It's comics for adults. You know what I mean? It's all the stuff.
Big time.
So they're like, just label it properly. That's all we ask, is that you say, hey, this has, violence, sex, depression, drug use, and blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, sounds good. But I mean, that's fine. I think that's great, because I don't want some kid to pick up my book and then freaked out and the parents get mad. You know what I mean? Like, so I put a label on there. I'm like, this is for mature readers and blah blah blah. I put all that stuff on there, and I've been hip to the UPC codes and the barcodes for a while now. I've figured it out ahead of time, because comic shops, I go into comic shops and they'd be like, this is great, but you don't have a UPC barcode. So how do we scan?
Yeah,
it?
you
Like,
can't.
no. So
Well, I am so excited to hear you're on it. That you're growing into a small publisher, I guess technically. I'm excited to see you get some distribution on these books. And so, just to be clear here, so Yuriko is going to be a 5-issue arc. Big Game Saga, is it the same? Is that the aim anyway? 5 issues?
I don't know. I'll have to ask Bill. I think he originally wanted to do it as a 3 or a 5-issue arc, just to see what happened. And really, this one, he just wanted to make a comic, because he had never made one before, but he loves comic books. So he was like, hey, I want to make a comic. Will you draw it? And I'm like, yeah, I will. Sure. You know what I mean? That's that's usually how the handshake deals go with me. People, I was on LinkedIn, and somebody said, hey, I wanted to talk to you about your such and such, what do they call it? It's not like a resume, but it's like a digital, whatever the hell. Portfolio kind of thing, is where so you can submit it to official channels and stuff. And they were like, how does your such and such look? And I was like, no, man, I don't do that. And they were like, well, how do you get business then if you're not? And I was like, people just see my art, think it's cool, and then they ask me to draw their art, and then it's cool. I mean, like, it's real caveman. It's at the bottom of the barrel. Just ask me and I'll draw something. You know what I mean? It's pretty simple. You don't have to, I'm not very professional in that regard, but I get the comics done.
I mean, I was gonna say, the most important part, you're absolutely professional. You're cranking out wicked looking comics. You're writing amazing comics. And I think, you know what, David, it's like you said, you're not professional. You don't have to go through a certain gateway. It's just people can reach out to you, and I think that attitude, that openness, maybe is not the perfect word, but that openness, that friendliness, that kind of attitude, I think it comes in or out in your books as well, where unless you've written a very intentionally tense scene, I find all of your books, you can just kind of pick them up, enjoy them. Visually, they just like grab you, and they're like, hey, come down this crazy story. When you write, I find the writing to be very like, well, one, fairly minimal. You're light on the dialogue, but you use the words that you do use very, very well. And in this book with Bill, who's given you quite a bit more dialogue, I think word per panel on average, you've done an awesome job of breaking up the words with the flow, adding in those extra panels, so that everything looks visually stunning. And if there's a writer out there watching with us live now or sometime in the next 13 days, go out, Google Kickstarter Big Game Saga #1, back the book, get it, because it's already done. I read the whole thing. And then if you have a cool idea for a comic that you think David could draw and make look real cool, hit him up. Do it. Make more good comics.
Yeah. Why not? You know what I mean? I have come across a couple of aspiring creators, and they'll hit me up and they'll be like, hey man, like, I got this idea, but it's not fully fledged, and blah 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 blah. And they'll ask what I think of it, and really what I tell them is, finish it. Just finish your script first. Baby steps. You finish your script, and then send it to me if it's a project I want to take on, then we can talk about stuff. Or they'll say, hey, I got to finish the script. What's your page rate? And it's like, my page rate is this. And they're like, well, I can only pay this. And I'm like, well, I'm financially not in a place to do like pro bono work at this moment. So, we're all hustling out there. So I can't right now. And they'll be like, okay, well, when I get the funds, I'm going to have you illustrate it. And my hope is that it'll keep going this way to where if someone pays me to draw a comic book for them, it's almost like guaranteed they're going to get a badass comic book. They're going to get a successful Kickstarter run. And then maybe it'll even end up in shops on shelves. That's what I want. That's
Hell yeah.
what I would say would be my professional spiel to people. You know what I'm saying? That's my plan anyway.
Yeah.
So.
I love it. Well, David, you know what? Do me a favor one last time. Let the folks know what a digital copy and a physical copy of Big Game Saga #1 will, I guess, run them, because they're essentially buying it because it's done instead of like backing it to fund it to pay you to make it. So yeah, let them know what it'll run them to get them in on.
Okay, $5, 5 tiny little dollars. That's less than a cocktail at your favorite bar. Less than popcorn at the movies, for sure. Hell, less than a movie.
God. Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, $5 will get you a digital copy with all 3 variant covers and some extra artwork at the end from me. And $10 will get you a physical copy of this comic book, which is going to be worth bazillions of dollars once the arc hits like issue 357. It's going to be worth it. Trust me. Saga's going to be an old crotchety old man with a hidden blade or something, Anyway, yeah. So $10 will get you a real comic, physical comic. $5 will get you a digital comic. And then there's all sorts of other stuff that you can get too. You can add on a T-shirt if you want, because it's designed and printed by me in my print shop in Austin, Texas. So, yeah.
Yeah, you're crazy, and I love it. But like
I have a problem. Like I printed this shirt for my band. I don't know if you can see it. It's like
I love
ship
it.
That's sinking. Yeah, it's fun.
Right on. Then you know what, David? I've got 2 last easy questions for you. Oh, this was gonna be fun. This one's just for you.
Okay.
Instead of asking you about like the favorite thing in your collection, what is a piece of art that you've made that people can go out and enjoy, whether it's any medium other than comics, that you think they should check out?
This is a screen print that I made of my wife. It's printed on wood. It's like 4 feet by 4 feet. It's huge. Let's see what else.
Massive.
This one, you can't really see it. I'll grab it. This is a print of a baby bat. And I don't know why I wanted to draw a baby bat, but I did. And I made it using a process called paper lithography, which is kind of complicated, but you can do it at home. It's very fun. I'm a printmaker. That's what I do. That's what I love to do. So drawing comics is not a side gig, I guess, but it's like new to me, where this is what I have done in the past. You know what I mean? So art gallery shows and that kind of thing. Real art, as the art professors call it. I don't know if that answers your question at all. If anybody
I dig it.
To see more of my other art, I don't really have it posted anywhere, but I should do that. I think I will do that.
All right. Well, I look forward to it and being able to share that. Then, yeah, Divi, my last question: who do you think we should have on the show next?
Oh, that's a good question. I think if you haven't had Dakota Brown, right, the writer who's doing Something Beyond the Petrichor, he's done a couple of comic books that when I saw them, I was like, wow, these are really cool. And they're way outside of my illustration wheelhouse. But
okay.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. I think you would enjoy him. He's got a lot to say. He's published through Band of Bards. I think he did some stuff with Scout Comics in the past. And he's just he's prolific, but he is just writing all the time. He's trying. He's knocking at the door. That's the way I see it. But yeah, I would listen to that because he's kind of a mystery to me too. Like I want to know more about him, so I want you to interview him, and then he will be known to me. You know what I mean?
Perfect. Well, I will be happy to help. Then in that case, David, absolutely. It was a blast having you on. Once again, for the folks out there in YouTube land, Google Big Game Saga #1 Kickstarter. Go get yourself a copy of the book and enjoy. But yes, David, absolutely. It was a blast having you on again, bud. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Konrad. My pleasure.
Absolutely. Hell yeah. And for the folks out there in YouTube land, whether you're watching with us now live or sometime in the future, remember to like, comment down below what you think of David, of Narita, of Yuriko, of what you think of what will be Big Game Saga #1. And remember, subscribe for more, and we'll see you next time.
Golden age to present, digest to oversize. Never miss new comic day. Yeah, no surprise. So where's my no prize? Check the letter columns. Can't find issue 2? Collector problems, cliffhangers, mysteries. You need answers. When did